being a part of this 7-week series, Unity Awakening, our annual fall series where we take a look at teaching in Sunday service and in classes during the week. And it has been a rich and very full series as we've explored so far 6 of the 7 chakras and 11 of the 12 powers of mankind as put forward by Unity co-founder Charles Miller. So this week we're going to bring it all together, wrap a bow on it. Next week there's no special color to wear, there's no sticker to get, so I encourage you to come to church anyway. It's a really wonderful experience. This week we're looking at that 7th chakra, the crown chakra, the opening of divine energy as it comes into the body, into every life center within us. And we're tying that to the idea of faith. Now, one thing we know about the crown chakra is it is the chakra that embodies the consciousness of thought and thinking. And so in our life, we know when something's up, if we've gotten off kilter, if there's some sort of a blockage, because we experience often some sort of cognitive dissonance, where we think we see something, we think something, we believe something else, they're just not coming together, and it just feels awkward. I don't know if you've ever had that experience. I've had when my assumption wasn't being borne out by the facts. And it just had to stay open to what's really happening. What do I really see? What am I really believing? What do I really know? And even in our new member ceremony, we talked about consciousness. And what is consciousness other than just knowing? And when we're fully conscious, when we're awakened, when we've individuated, when we are enlightened, we know that we know that we know. We don't need things to be differently than they are. We're aware. It reminds me of that famous line that's recounted when the Buddha reached enlightenment and somebody said to him, "Sir, have you become a god?" And he said, "No, I'm awake." And that's really what we're about in our New Thought teachings, is helping people to awaken, to know themselves, and to know themselves, as Steve pointed out in our meditation, as individualized expressions of the life and the love and the beauty that God is, that the divine is. And we want to know that the world is operating according to principles that are regular, that we can understand. You know, the daily word today, the affirmation was, "My life is unfolding in divine order." How many of you believe that? Well, a lot of you. Okay, great. I'll keep talking then. Okay? We're going to keep during the vote until we get to 100%. Yeah, so this knowing of divine order, the universe is operating as it should, is a core teaching related to awakening, related to understanding. To know that winter will always be followed by spring, will always be followed by summer, will always be followed by autumn. There are some things that are regular. The tides are regular. We know these things and we can connect with these things. And even on the very subtle level in our lives, in our bodies, we want to awaken to an understanding that everything is opening and going along as it should. Now here's where we tie in thought and belief and to make something else. So thought is our awareness of what's going on, our knowing of what's going on, our ability to just think it through. You know, I've been to some rooms before where there's a big sign in the front that says, "Think, think, think." In that same room, I've also heard the expression, "And don't believe half of what you think. It's what got you in that room in the first place." You know what I'm talking about. We always want to have clarity in our thought. And what is the most powerful thought that anybody can hold? I believe it is the thought of faith. Faith. What do you believe? Do you believe, as we teach in Unity, that the nature of God is altogether good? And if so, how does that inform your thoughts? How does that inform your worldview? And more importantly, how does your faith, the thing you believe in, shape another aspect of the 7th chakra, the capacity to make meaning? Because that's where it all ends, in our capacity to make meaning. What are we going to make the events of our lives mean? Here's why that's important. Because if you can make it mean something, you can get through anything. If you can make it mean something, you can get through anything. So that goes back to your belief, which goes back to what do you actually think. Here's the thing, we have complete free will to decide what to think. So many of our thought patterns become habitual, and we stop thinking about what we're thinking. But part of the work of growing our faith, part of the work of understanding and opening the seventh chakra so that divine energy might infuse every part of our being, is to get real clear, what am I thinking? Why am I thinking that? How could that possibly be beneficial? How is that thought getting in the way of creating the life that I want to live? And then we move forward to ask ourselves, well, then what do I believe to be true? You know, that's where some of that cognitive dissonance comes from, because our thoughts aren't really in alignment with our beliefs. What do you really believe? And then we take the risk and make the decision that we will make our lives mean what they mean. We will make the experiences of our lives mean what they mean. And we always have a choice in that. We always have a choice in that. Even if we've been told all of our lives, we don't. Even if we've told ourselves that, we always have a choice. And that's, I think, how we get to this point of enlightenment, of awakening, as Carl Jung talked about. Individuation meaning how do we become a full individual? It gets back to the point, well, what do we decide our lives mean? That's completely in your hands. It's completely in your heart. It's completely in your mind. It is liberating and powerful, and it implies a tremendous level of responsibility. And sometimes we shy from that. We just want somebody else to be responsible. Let me put all this in a little bit different context. The 4 V's. It's covered in our metaphysics curriculum. It might even come up in the poem Monday. I don't know. 4 V's. First V, victim. I'm sure we've all have had a time in our lives when we felt victimized by something. They did it to me. It happened to me. Of course they did. I'll tell you, they did do it to you, and it did happen. So there, acknowledge, check. It all happens. That happens sometimes. That's how life goes. And we have a choice. We can stay in that level of consciousness, and I know people who've made a profession of being victims. You may know some of them. Maybe nobody in this room, but you may know a few of them. The next level up, as we move that progression, kind of as that kundalini rises in that framework as well. Victor. I've overcome. I've survived. I got over it. Yeah, hey, I'm a bad mama jamma. So, and I can tell you, all of you have overcome and been victors of over something. Wait, maybe it was just your own stupidity. I'm only talking about this stuff. You can buy into that too if you want. I'll sell stock options. So we all have become victors over something. Yes. The next step, in the third V in that evolution, is vessel. How many of us, by understanding and recognizing our gifts and talents, which we all have chosen to use those in service in some way, shape, form? Last week we acknowledged our veterans. Amen. Thank you for using your service. We acknowledge teachers. We are parents. Learn a lot and share with their kids. The medical teams and practitioners of various sorts, all are vessels in some way, shape, form. Or maybe you just happen to be the one who had the right thing to say to your friend. You were the vessel of that divine energy, that divine love. And then there's the fourth V, verity. We've covered this in our meditation. We've already mentioned it throughout our service today. Verity means I am the truth. You know, Jesus said at one point in the scriptures, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. How many of us will own for ourselves the reality of those words? If you've seen me, you've seen the Creator. And just own that in realization. And that's not about hubris or arrogance or anything like that. It is simply about acknowledging the truth of who we are. Each one of us in that moment. Now we have flashes of insights in these moments of when our consciousness just blends in to the cosmic consciousness. Often in times of prayer and meditation, and sometimes completely unbidden, it just happens. Has anybody ever had that experience of just knowing your oneness with all life, with all people? Yeah, it happens sometimes. There's a part of us that wants to always be there and be consciously aware of it. And the truth is, we are all already there. It's just we get so caught up in our busyness and our doingness that we forget that. We sometimes lose sight of the truth of our being. It's like that wonderful Zen koan that does these wonderful paradoxical statements that are true. We often are dealing with paradox when we know the two things that seem opposite or contradictory are true at the same time. And one of these most famous ones is before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. And after enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. So what's the difference? The difference is that before enlightenment, before we consciously are aware of the truth of who we are, because I think we're all already enlightened, the light's already in there. It's a little light of mine. It's already there. We've known the song since we were this tall. But what happens is when we're chopping wood and we're carrying water that way, when we're living our lives, we're often multitasking. We prize that. Oh, I'm a great multitasker. Oh, I don't know about that. The truth is, we can only do one thing at a time. But before enlightenment, when we're chopping wood and carrying water, we're thinking, I sure do not enjoy chopping wood. Or I'm chopping wood, and see, I've got to go to the grocery store, and I've got to do this, and I've got to drive on I-66 and chat with the people parked next to me. It's like, you're just not present. It's another word. It's just not present. Not really totally aware of what I'm doing or what I'm doing. But afterwards, when we've had those moments when we truly get who we are and just really own it, then when we're chopping wood, we are chopping wood only. I'm just chopping wood. And suddenly, this mundane has become sacred. When I'm carrying water, I'm just carrying water. What a grace to carry water. One thing at a time. Fully doing just that. Knowing that there's other stuff to be done and it'll be gotten to. I'm just chopping wood and carrying water. I'm making it mean something. I'm having faith that it means something. And I have the thought of the importance of chopping wood and carrying water. All of these thoughts, all these attributes happen when we activate our faculty of faith. When we open that consciousness of the crown chakra. It's easy to do. You just have to make a habit of doing so. And that habit are our spiritual practices that take so many forms. They're so important, we've made them a cornerstone of our ministry here. We even have a spiritual practice team. We've had a variety of different spiritual practices in this service. How many today, when we were singing our songs, were thinking about chopping wood or your grocery list or anything? No, you were just singing the song, reading the words, being into it, feeling its vibration in your body. That's a practice. Our meditation is a practice. Our prayer is a practice. Our loving one another, greeting one another is a practice. And that's just the start. We've got our labyrinth we can walk on. We can all go home and pray. We can all go home and meditate. I remember I started my spiritual practice when I was a college student. I was doing lap swimming every morning, not really realizing that I was doing a meditation practice, but what I was aware of is that I wasn't aware of anything. I was just going from there to there, to there to there. Spiritual practice. And the thing thing is when we do those spiritual practices on a regular basis, when we open our minds and open our hearts without any expectation, just being present, then it's almost as if every cell of our bodies is recharged, every feeling of our heart is recharged, every thought of our mind is recharged. And whatever is ours to do after that, we can do so consciously, with a sense of awareness, just what I'm doing. Knowing that I am one with my Creator. And knowing that when I look in the mirror, that I have seen the Creator. So that's your homework for this week. Just know that you're one with God. Just know you are an individualized expression of that. Engage in your spiritual practice mindfully. And when you go about your day doing what you do, ask yourself, am I just doing what I'm doing? Is it possible, will I allow myself the grace of doing one thing at a time? And if you will, I guarantee you will feel a peace in your heart that will illuminate your soul and allow you to truly be the light of love, peace, and wisdom consciously in the world, not as an afterthought.